Welcome back to the second hour of Checkpoint. We continue with the show this time round. Roundtable discussion on the week's top governance developments. And of course, just yesterday, we saw the final report from the National Dialogue Committee. And that's what we'll start with. But irregardless, it's been a busy week, mind you. The release of KCPE results, which marked the end of the KCPE in primary schools. Congratulations to all the candidates, by the way. We quickly found out a new terminal at the JKIA might be in the offing. This following uproar over the infrastructural issues exposed by the rains. Regionally, Somalia was admitted to the EAC as the 8th member of the community. So it's been a busy week. But right now, we want to focus on some of the key recommendations from that final report of the National Dialogue Committee. And as you can see, one of the major points in which we will be interrogating with my panelists is centered on the audit of the 2022 general election and the whole process. Remember, this was a big issue by the Azimio camp, where the NADCO, that's the National Dialogue Committee, recommended the evaluation of the 2022 election process, which was really pushed by Azimio, as I mentioned. Number two, reconstitution of the IEBC selection panel, one of the sore issues that was deliberated on by the committee, where they mentioned they will expand IEBC selection panel from 7 to 9 members. That panel, if you can recall, was selected by President William Ruto on February 13th, currently constituted by 7 members. It will be increased to 9. Next, resolution of presidential election petitions, where the presidential election petitions should be heard and determined within 21 days from 14 days. That's one of the recommendations by the NADCO. Equally, electoral legal reforms, where the legal reforms that have been passed less than 18 months before the general election should take effect in the next electoral cycle. That's one of the timelines that has been proposed to be changed. Number 5, the key contentious issue, the cost of living. One of the recommendations, all arms of government to cut travel expenditure by 50%. And we've heard from the president today as he was worshipping with congregants, mentioning his in support of these recommendations by NADCO. Even though we've had some of the Azimio allied members actually pour cold water into some of the recommendations, especially on the cost of living, where they say they did not meet the expectations of Kenyans. Still on the cost of living, SRC is to review daily allowances for state officers and public officers with an aim of reducing the cost by 30%, road maintenance levy to be reduced by 5 Kenya shillings, and the fuel anti-adulteration levy by 3 Kenya shillings. That's on the cost of living. Number 6, all devolved functions to be fully transferred to counties. Remember, this has been in the offing. The president has spoken to this in terms of transferring all the functions to the counties. The next point being number 7, centered on equitable share to county governments, which should not be less than 20% of the total collected revenue. Remember, for every financial year, the equitable share of revenue raised nationally that is allocated to county governments shall not be less than 15% of all revenue collected by the national government. That's as per law. The recommendation raising it all the way up to 20%. Good news for the counties. The next recommendation, number 8, entrenching funds in the Constitution. Right here, we're talking about the National Government Constituency Development Fund, the Affirmative Action Fund, the Senate Oversight Fund as well is said to be entrenched into law. The Ward Development Fund, which has been pushed by members of County Assembly time and time again, is to be established by statute. Number 9, establishment and entrenchment of state offices. Remember, both sides were pushing for the establishment of the official leader of the opposition with 2 deputies. On the other side, we'll have the establishment of the office of the Prime Minister. The next recommendation, number 10, fidelity to the law on multi-party democracy. This was an issue for Azimio, remember, as they went to the negotiating table, where the recommendation has been made of the establishment of the Independent Political Parties Regulatory Commission as an independent body that shall be responsible for the registration of political parties and their office holders and the management of the political parties fund. Those are some of the recommendations that were released yesterday by the National Dialogue Committee led by Kimani Ichung'wah and Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka. So we want to start on this particular issue, it being the latest